trade up in ult economy. It's the absolute best thing you can do because ult economy is extremely hard to recover uh, in goods, like when you're in a deficit.
Okay.
So, and thinking about the quality of the ults, right? Grav is the strongest CC ult in goats, and Trance is the strongest ultimate in goats. um,
Yeah.
Debatably, but I maybe consider it that. It's definitely the strongest support ult. So you're trading maybe the weakest support ult for two of the stronger ults.
Okay. That
And in the
seems.
next fight, they'd end up having ults.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, sacrifice a weaker ult to bait out. Yeah, that I didn't see that angle. Okay, so yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Usually, when I explain that sort of thing, I avoid the word bait because ideally, you're not necessarily. Baiting implies tricking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so instead of baiting, I like to explain it more as you force them into uh like an ultimatum. Either they use their two strongest ults or they
Lose
uh
point.
potentially put themselves in a position to lose the fight. So obviously they're going to take the better of those two options,
Mm-hmm.
and that just happens to leave you at well, it doesn't just happen. The entire purpose behind doing that is that either way you're left at an advantage at some point.
Mm-hmm.
They pop rally already.
Mm-hmm.
Davin just uses Grav. Um,
Okay, so it's Grav.
uh, then Bomb comes out. Bomb and Angry Titans use Trance.
In response to the Grav to try and sustain through.
They lose Ludi.
So it goes right down, and then the Shadow comes in for the cleanup.
Yeah. So they traded two ults for three. They still technically traded up, but the big problem here now is that Gigantea is Trance, and that's a push stopper, man. That can
Mm-hmm.
really shut down your play.
Mm-hmm. And then Lil Bell's also coming up on beat, which is also going to be a huge problem for the Grav bomb.
Beat's not a problem really for bomb. So the problem with trying to beat a bomb is that it requires the such like precise timing that it's usually not worth it, like at all, and you can be stunned out of it very easily.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That and um, you you only end up surviving with like a certain amount of HP.
Yeah.
It's not your full health bar.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, not usually the right strategy can be used in situations that are much less risky with much higher reward.
Yeah.
Um, so let's say Angry Titans is making a fight plan as they're coming out of spawn. What do you think their plan is?
Um, I think their plan, since I know they're coming up on 3 ults, they'll have the Lucio, Rhine, and Diva coming in to this once they decide to engage. I think they're gonna try for a Grav Diva combo, and
So, first I want to clarify you you don't want them to take an engagement until they have those ultimates ready, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I definitely think they should poke um, one to get the Zarya charged up, and two to get those ultimates online to help secure the fight. Because aggressing onto a point is significantly harder than holding a point, in my opinion. So you really want to make sure you have a investment to be able to, get flip that advantage onto your side without using too terribly, without using like L6 ults, because then you're just at a huge deficit.
Yeah, so the goats, so in goats versus most other comps, other than um, uh, like quad and triple DPS comps,
Hmm.
goats versus most other comps is fast and aggressive.
Hmm.
Um, the goats v goats matchup is extremely slow, and it's true that you have the advantage when you're defending um,
Hmm.
on goats, but when you're uh, in a lot of that has to do with space,
Yeah.
um, and it also has to do with um, you are able to sort of dictate the area in which the fight will occur.
Yeah.
Um, the flip side is that the attackers often have slightly more control over when the fight occurs. Um, but not necessarily as much as the attackers would in other comps, because the comps have essentially the same amount of mobility, so the
Hmm.
defenders also can make an engagement essentially, and that would be them determining when the fight occurs. So yeah, I just want to like unpack all of that.
Hmm.
It's a good thing to think about.
Yeah.
So Angry Titans should poke for ultimate, shouldn't take them much time, obviously, and then
Hmm.
they should grav bomb. You said.
Yes, I think they should invest a Grav Bomb, and then from the result of that should really dictate the rest of the fight.
Okay.
Because you can't make a
Um.
concrete plan past the Grav Bomb combo. In my opinion, you can't.
Yeah. Well, grav bomb is essentially your win condition. The fight plan stops when you plan essentially up to the point that you um, put the make the outcome of the fight uh, almost like almost already determined.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't necessarily have to be everybody on the enemy team is dead. And that's where the fight ends. It's like if you gotten 2 picks at that point, you're good.
Hmm.
If you're up to yeah. Um. So planning past a grav bomb isn't like useful, really.
Yeah.
The only time you would do it is if you are unsure of whether they have an ult or not, or whether or not they're going to use an ult. And in those cases, you just say, if this sort of thing happens, then we do this thing,
Yeah.
kind of as a conditional. Um, it's harder to pull off a Graf bomb as an attacking team than as a defending team in a situation like this because of the space factor that we talked about.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the critical thing about pulling this off for Angry Titans is making sure that the grav is positioned such that Lulsish can charge Milky Man.
Yeah.
Because it's like if Giganti didn't have trance, then you could throw bomb in and essentially just still kill them, even though the Rhine's shielding. If you're able to dish out that damage, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm talking as I think, and I'm thinking about a bunch of things. So sorry
Yeah.
if I'm like talking slow.
You're good. You're good.
It's interesting.
So here, Zappa should definitely. Okay, there it is. Can you put it in slow-mo advisor or no?
Let me check. Oh, yeah, I can.
Oh, thank God. 75% speed is a life save.
I'm actually putting it 25% because I want enough time to think.
So a little fish.
I'm gonna pause it. So, let's see. There is this. Oh, okay. Eligo has bomb now. Kind of just so they kind of tough nutted it and like didn't play too passive, which was a concern of mine. They weren't afraid to try and take some space, so they essentially did two things at the same time. They built the ultimates that they needed, and they uh, put Giganti in a worse position.
Yeah. That's actually a clutch boot from Lil Bell. Put Lilfish back to his team. It's very bad. I think that's a bad boop. Okay, so right now with this, we see Lilfish is at a huge shield disadvantage. So they're gonna want to pressure onto the to close. They're pressuring to close out the fight definitely because Ryan's shield's super low in there.
So what they they're pushing in.
They're trying to force him into a corner for the grab.
They want for it because if you've got two support ults, like there's a pretty good chance that you might just survive the Graf bomb, and it seems to me as though uh, Davin's being smart about bubble usage. Otherwise, they would have grabbed already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely want to wait for those bubbles. Oh, a shit.
So the thing is, I think that they. Oh, Rally gets popped. Okay. So I think Angry Titans is being a little greedy, but they kind of have to be, actually. So their objective isn't just to win the fight; they have to win with ult advantage left over
Yeah.
because the time. So they they could they could pull off the combo right now, but it would end up that they probably would need to use beat as well or
Hmm.
shatter. And one of the at least one of them. Because of the double support. So
Hmm.
they don't want to do that. They want to save.
As many ults as possible.
Right.
Oh, I thought it was going to shatter. And there's
There's the grav. Trance comes out.
perfect bomb placement.
Oh, and he charges the Rhine. Wonderful. They only get the Rhine because of the bubbles, but uh-oh. Only got died.
That's really
Eh,
bad.
they're a little too stingy. That's unfortunate.
Hmm.
They it probably would have gone off cleaner had they set it up earlier too.
Hmm.
They kind of over the whole round it just
Oh,
ended up accumulating a worse situation. So I understand their decision. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say the wrong one to make. I just think that uh, they did the high risk, high reward thing because they it's either they very comfortably win this fight and not really have to worry about whether or not they win it, but have to worry about the fights after, or they uh, play it risky this fight in hopes that um, multiple next fight, like the one or two fights after, will be set up in their favor.
hmm. And then Gigante's pretty much got this in the bag now.
Yeah.
DMX down, and their Zarya's gone.
And Devin's got Grav, so. Oh well. Rip.
Rip the dream.
This will probably be interesting. Put it at 1 times for now.
Hanzo goats. That's just a joke.
Never know, man. These EU players are crazy.
Hey, Hanzo would be an acceptable substitute, I think.
For Zarya, nah. For Brig, maybe. For Diva, maybe. Not Zarya. Especially in a GOATS matchup. Like, you've got this shield, this shield, this shield, this defense matrix, right?
Hmm.
It's,
Oh no, man, that's Storm Arrow. Storm Arrow is powerful.
Tor. Yes. No.
Tor would work better again. Tor works great against Somber Goats. Did you see that Clockwork Vendetta match where they just basically like shattered the meta with that weird bunker cup they were running?
What are they run?
They ran Orisa, Hog, Torb, May, and I think Anna Lucio.
Orisa, Hog, Torb, May, Anna, Lucia. Okay. And what map?
It was Hanamura. Then it was
Oh, I
Li
see how
Jiang.
that would work.
Yeah, Li Jiang. Then Hanamura. Then I forgot the final.
Was it effective on Li Jiang?
Oh yeah, it just
Okay, that's
whoever they're going against they didn't even stand a chance the entire match. Like they just basically just steamrolled on all 3 maps. I forgot the third one.
not so sure how that would work out on Gardens.
What was it?
The other 2 Li Jiang maps, like Night Market and Control Center, I could see it maybe working. Play correctly.
I think that's something you would be interested in watching. Is looking at how that would like.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I probably would be interested in watching that. And then Hanamura is much more straightforward. Like,
Well, Hanamura, they didn't even. Who were they playing? Ay, ay, ay.
sounds like they were playing against a sufficiently incompetent team.
It was a contenders final.
Contenders final?
I know it was a contenders.
Were they against HSL?
HSL, you're gonna have to give me a name.
HSL is was a previous contenders team. I mean, that was an OD this season. Unless you're
Cold
that they were
collusion.
hoping
Cold
for,
collusion.
hoping to be able to utilize
okay.
on.
Yeah. Oh no, they're running Baptiste Zen. That's what they were running.
Baptiste Zen. Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
But Torb May with Baptiste Zen. Yeah, no, that's good. That's fine.
Yeah, they just steamrolled Cold Collusion. Just like it really wasn't even a match. It didn't feel like on Hanamura. Hanamura, they Cold Collusion pulled out some like a cheeky Bastion bunker,
Mhm.
but I mean, Clockwork, they pathed around it. They played around it using the geometry of the map and taking different angles.
It's pretty easy to, pretty easy to get around that. In fact, you can run Maygoats against that. Sorry, not Maygoats. Well, you could run Maygoats against that actually, but well, after the Maywall health change, maybe not. But Symmetra Goats is what I meant to say. You run Symmetra Goats against that extremely effectively.
Symmetra, she's just, when I had my diamond team, I was trying so hard to like find compositions to put Sim, Torben, May, and I was trying so hard, but I just couldn't figure it out.
You should talk to Cyfate. He is the coach for off the map and Boundless. Anyway, he has Klinkmeister on I think off the map. And was that off the map? Hold up. Yep. So Klinkmeister, and Klinkmeister is a notorious Torb one trick.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of Orisa, a lot of Torb on that team. Cyfate said he's a good coach. He's an interesting guy. He used to be the head coach. He was the head coach of Chicken Big Contendies before I was. What was I gonna say? Oh, right. So Symmetra goats is viable in more places than you would expect.
Okay.
Attacking first point Hollywood is one of them. It's like
Okay.
that's the I think most people's go-to uh, example, minus first point Hanamura. In fact, Chicken Contendies in a tournament,
Hmm.
we ended up winning first. And on the last game, we busted out the Sim goats, Hanamura.
Well,
I think that was the same tournament that Salty actually used his ult just so that he could get out of mech and teabag Carter. Yeah,
that's
I was proud of him. Carter deserves to be teabagged. I don't hate the guy. I mean, I used to really not like him because he was a gigantic asshole to me when I had just started out coaching. So he didn't think that a platinum player had uh, any right coaching a 4.5K team. Thought that was ludicrous. Um,
I mean, it sounds ludicrous.
and not in tier 3, but he's gotten. He was also just a dislikable person back then.
Oh, okay.
But, just in general too. But he act well. It wasn't just that he didn't like. If he just held that opinion, I wouldn't care because it makes I understand it
Mhm.
absolutely. But it was that it was in a warm up scrim before tournament that the team, both his team and my team were participating in,
Mhm.
and someone on my team, well, it was like warm up widow aim headshot only whatever Chateau Guillard, and we were all talking uh, match chat and the match voice channel, and one of my players had mentioned it at some point that I was plat, probably just to you know poke fun at me, and Carter like ripped into me for having the audacity to coach a 4.5K team. It wasn't like a super angry thing or whatever. He just was extremely insulting about it. Made it very clear that he did not think I was at all qualified to be in the position I was in. Which I mean, he was right, but still, the way that he was presupposing that I was a garbage coach because I was a garbage player, just, it did not sit right with me at all.
Wouldn't sit
Had a
right
lot
with
less
me
to
either.
do with like personal feeling and a lot more to do with like this guy's actions are kind of disgusting. So we keep going. Uh, I wanted to say something uh, kind of funny. I was talking to a diamond friend of mine who fancies himself a little bit of a armchair analyst, and I mean I encourage it and I try to help him out, and he asks for advice all the time, and like uh, Varavich, he was hard, and I helped him get up in time, and uh, one time he came to me with a VOD of EU contenders asking why the attacking team, well, so the defending team, we'll say for context, had a Bastion bunker. It was like Orisa, Diva, Bastion, some other heroes. And then the attacking team roll out double shield Bastion.
Oh.
And my friend was like, what are they doing? This is stupid. This is like a silly cheese comp. And I'm like, you realize why they have 2 shields, right? You understand that the team that wins the shield war wins, right? Like, it was, I don't know. When I was in Plat and in Diamond, I knew that the Bastion that wins the shield war, his team wins the fight. Like, that was one of those, it felt really fundamental to me. So it was really, it's shocking to me that he didn't realize that. Like, I thought he was joking, and then I said it to him, and I thought he would be like, "Oh, I'm dumb," but he wasn't. He was just genuinely like, "Okay, that makes."
Oh, huge boop.
Heck, okay, he Fox out lasered, dude. Actually obliterated. Wait, we should watch that back. First engage is important engage.
Okay, so slow-mo or no?
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back a little bit further, just to see if I can get a sense of where they're holding. Okay, so Diva's on the top right, and turn some more for me. I think their supports are on the back bridge, maybe.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. And so he's pushing in. They immediately drop down. So here's the idea, I think. Holding up here, very weak place to actually take a fight, being the defending team, because it's extremely easy for them to just push you off the edge and split your team, right? So you hold up here because it's a good neutral starting position to transition to a better place to hold. One, and two, it's, you don't want just their Zarya coming up here and having this high ground for flank or whatever. That's a terrible scenario. There's Zarya or there's Zen or both. Because if she comes here, then like they go main and they like. So if you're up here and there's Zarya comes up here by herself, she gets just really fucked up.
So they're
So
backing up the point. Okay.
they backed up. Well, they got kind of booped, but they backed up pretty far. It's good for Zen to stay in this area, I think, when the fight's going like this way and this way. Clear. But maybe a better area for Zape to be would be here. Yeah, in like not inside here. I think that's an okay position, but like over here is, using that cover is probably like the best place for him to be currently. But he's afraid because if they just come down here and try and speed on him like this way, his team might not be in a position right now to say Angry Titans going in and just soloing him because he split. So maybe that's why he's moving closer to his team.
So I think that was actually Ganty had actually planned that Lude was going to be able to get that, or that Lilbo was going to be able to get that boop. I think that was actually a part of their plan, and that's why the Zen took a more aggressive position so that he could be able to capitalize the moment the boop happened.
I don't know that necessarily being here is gives him any more of a offensive advantage than him being here for when that boop happens, but um, it certainly means that if they all get booped off at the same time, stay as a stack, that they can't just push this way and fuck him. It gives his team the ability to kind of rotate around him and swoop him in, and then they can have like a fight going this way and that way.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean that's how you play against it. That's the general idea of playing against a team taking this high ground from over here. Is trying to boop them off this way. You can do it with Lucio, you can do it with D.Va. If those are ineffective, because they might end up being, right? But you have to be careful also that if your Lucio wants to get a boop like that, he has to be riding on this wall, and that means that he's behind them, like inside of them. So it's just he's got to be careful that they're spread out enough that he isn't. Oh, yeah, and if it's not something that can work out, up here they can't contest the point. So eventually someone is going to have to drop down, if not their whole team. Their whole team being the ideal scenario for them, because if only one person goes down, then you just move in on the split target and kill them. Yeah. So, worked out well for Giganti, I think.
Definitely.
They go in on a split Rein. Somehow Milky Man died, but
I think they hard focused Milky Man.
like Milky Man was charging Rein, I think, right? Yeah. He hit that charge, but it's just because D.Va wasn't matrixing.
And then
The kid got 5 orbed. No, so Milky Man charged in to Lulsish, right?
And
hit the
Lulsish
pin.
charged Milky Man.
Back. Okay.
See, Lulsish charges Milky Man. You can see him begin to charge right here and then ends up right here.
What? Hold on. Wait. Here's Milky Man.
Yeah. And then Milky Man goes down. Then Lulsish drops down and charges him.
Oh, holy shit, dude. I don't know what my brain was doing there, dude. What I saw was that Lulsish was like here or some shit, and then Milky Man like hit him like that way.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It was weird, dude. Oh no. Okay, so yeah, Milky Man got charged. And then hit by a bunch of spam.
Yeah, and then he tried to charge into a D.Va micro missling and then the Rein circle. So we got that, and then he.
I want to see why they were going that direction to begin with. Oh, they were chasing.
Yeah, they were
Okay,
cleaning up
that's
the
right. That's
fight.
right. Yeah.
And then Milky Man makes a huge mistake. Instead of just trying to shield, he goes for a counter charge, which is very.
Yeah, I don't have super high opinions of Milky Man in the context of like what EU main tanks are best. So I think there are some incredible EU main tanks.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think Milky Man's one of them. I think he's contenders level. I just don't think he's like contenders finals level. I think Lulsish is though, definitely. I think Progi is, and I've had the pleasure of working with that guy. Big smile. Something that is a honestly maybe an I don't want to say like sole explanation, but like a big probably a big factor in his success is that uh, I've heard EU players say on multiple occasions that his voice, like just the way that he speaks, is it keeps the mentality of the team, you know, from devolving. That it makes it feel positive. I didn't. It's not like he's excessively cheery or anything. I think it's maybe
He has
like a
really good
motivate.
poise. He always keeps his cool. Maybe.
I don't know. I like just getting them to rally together and just the task at hand rather than you know whatever shit's going wrong.
Yeah.
Early and absolutely way
Super
to make
fast trans.
tank.
Okay, so they're gonna come up. A diva boop and we'll tie ground. Check for Lucy. Smart. This is risky jump on the point.
You can use payload as a corner.
Yeah, you can, but he jumped down at
So
300 HP and less than half shield, which is what has me. Maybe
yeah,
they had
I mean,
planned to use trance. They could have done that, planned to use trance, or was that a
definitely
reactionary?
maybe Matrix and Bubble or like it was called and coordinated and stuff like that. That he
Yeah,
wanted to transition at that point. It was a pretty like prime time to transition if you don't take the health into account.
yeah, definitely. Milky Man
Maybe
was
just
definitely
they
given way
wanted
too much space.
that chance. They almost have to though, because when the enemy's up here, it's like kind of the way that they're going to path is they're gonna have to come from here. They're gonna have to use this corner. So it's not like they can be in here. That's a bad place to be. And it's not like they can be in here. So they're not contesting the point in either of these places. They have to use this card in the corner, and you can't really use it as a corner from this side like you can from here. So corner becomes kind of their best default position when you think about it.
Yeah,
It's a really awkward situation to be in. Ooh, Ludi is in a place. Oh, ooh.
oh,
You see that?
fat shatter.
Do you see the boop Ludi pulled off?
Actually, I didn't.
He it, I just go back a little bit. Like,
Oh my god.
yeah, dude. Guess that. Woof.
Oh, that's. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing
you
much you
like
can do there.
Yeah. Even if he wasn't fire striking, man, fucking, he's not stopping that shatter.
Yeah,
That was well coordinated.
that was a ridiculous play on Ludi.
I like that.
Yeah, there's just they wouldn't be able to have outplayed that really. I mean,
Very
unless.
clean from everybody on Angry Titans.
Hmm.
That's a big deal. Um, don't let the Zarya get away. Like, if
Oh yeah, that's something
it,
like.
yeah, you really don't want them to have charge. In fact, there was there were quite a few times, more than you might think, on phase two, where Faz or Lucio player would very quickly like come back from spawn and uh, and try and body block and bait and just essentially sacrifice our Zarya could get out
Hmm,
with charge.
yeah, that's something I coach. That's something even before I really even started coaching. I knew that you just like in the goats matchup. If the Rhine is dead, you are hard focusing that Zarya.
Mhm. And like sometimes there are better people to focus. And it's important to take those things into account. Like there are a lot of situations in which you don't focus the Zarya right after Ryan, or sometimes she's the last one that you kill, and that's okay. It's just you gotta, insofar as you can manage,
Hmm.
take out the Zarya every time you have the opportunity to, if she has charge.
Yeah. So
I've got no clue why Zarya is on the payload right now, but okay.
yeah, it should be Zen.
There could
But
be three people on the payload. The people that need to be up front are Lucio, Diva, and Zarya. Those are the most important because Zarya is the one that you want. Poke. Well, oh, never mind. Zarya had Grav. There's no reason for her to poke. I'm dumb. Okay. You forget the simplest thing sometimes. It's like,
well, I mean,
I
you
don't
got so
know.
much running through your mind.
Yeah, it's complicated because I don't I don't know if you ever experienced any coaching before Goats Meta, but before Goats Meta, it was not this complicated. Like there were the coaching and things like um, macro or maybe harder focused on, or rather macro and micro were almost focused on separately, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
With this, it's like the whole picture just blends together. It's like coaching a MOBA.
Yeah.
Every single action makes a difference
Hmm.
and is accounted for.
That's something I learned once it was into goats. Is I watch a lot of videos on YouTube from a number of different sources that explain certain things just to open my mind to different, thinking patterns
Hmm.
and ways to think about the game. And that is something I learned like the moment the goats was a thing was that it's just so unbelievably like complicated. Like you can't really have any idea.
It's like, oh yeah, how do I say it? Like working with and learning from Solheim, I think I could attribute maybe 60% of my success in coaching to what I learned during the time I was learning from him, the time that like I knew him or whatever. I think maybe he didn't necessarily teach me everything.
Mm-hmm.
He just shifted the way that I looked at the game
Mm-hmm.
and gave me good advice on learning. And he also gave me certain pieces of knowledge, the ones that I needed the most that I was missing, and that allowed me to move forward much more quickly. So I wasn't stuck on these things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I boxed Onigod here because I remembered that because I had watched this VOD before. Um, watch how Onigod doesn't use Graph in this fight.
Okay. Okay. Oh, big boot, big boot. Why did he bomb? And then they beat in, trains to counter.
And so, like,
What is
this fight.
And then they invest in aggressive shat. What is Giganti doing?
So, uh, usually I just write off bad plays by Milky Men to Milky Men classed, and this is just not ready for this level of play. So he's, to me, he has always looked bad in comparison to, you know, these guys and all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Davin's use, Lilbo's use, right? Zappis use.
Oh, did
It
the
was,
Grive get eaten?
mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay.
And it was all like so uncoordinated, I guess.
Yeah. I didn't see the Grive get eaten. That's why I was like, wait, what the? And then why did Lilbo use Sound Barrier? Really
Shit,
bad
Onigon
time.
does use the grab this fight. Oh, it's once the cart's like here, maybe. Or maybe it's when they're on defense. I don't know. But it was on this map that is the ult discipline was commendable. It was something that I literally sent a clip to Harblu about because Harblu does not know how to save his ultimates.
Hmm.
I watched him one scrim. This was on this map too. You know the room that's like immediately over there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so he was being chased. He was trying to get out with energy. He was being chased by Orion and like a Lucio, I think.
Okay.
And he gets to like basically the opening, the door to this to the room over there, and he grabs them to get out with energy.
Oh my
Like,
goodness.
and
Oh.
then and then to top it off, the icing on the fucking cake. Chazzy, Gig, he was known as Chazzy back then. He comes in back from spawn, gets up to his homie Harblu, and he's like, "I'll save you," and he invests Shatter. He invests fucking Shatter into it. Oh, dude, I had a good laugh about that one.
Oh god. It's so just. Oh my god.
And they both died too, and they didn't kill anybody. From they lost still, and they invested both their. Holy shit!
Okay.
Ugh,
So the shadow.
I laughed for a while.
Oh. Why did they get? How did they get booped in? Okay, this is now finally starting to swing in.
By the way, if you ever want to pause or like anything like you can control all the shit as well.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Just want to see how. So Lil Bell is right there, right? So how did they get booped in? Oh wait, oh no, I can't press play. No. So Lil Bell's. So what booped them in so much?
Hold on. I think I know what it is, but I just want to double check.
Oh, was it a
It was a
Zarya?
Zarya grenade. That's nuts. It was only, I think only Onigod got booped in that much.
Dang, that's a.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fucking. He got some air. Maybe
Yeah,
he was jumping at the same time. Maybe he's on
that
speed.
had to be. He's on speed. You can. You almost can see Lucio. He had to have jumped though.
Mm.
Damn.
Wait, one more thing. Just want to check one more thing because as it comes in. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to check through a like native zone or not. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, there's also you take into account that this is an incline,
Yeah.
so yeah, the trajectory is a little still.
Then gets a then bit ball punches David, and then from there it's just cleanup work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's so interesting about these ghost matchups is the moment like one thing gets fucked up, you can totally like just roll the enemy team, but like you can see both teams use 6 ults and nobody's dead at the end of it.
That little magic special sauce. Everybody's like, how the fuck did they lose that fight? You know, all that. Always in goats, it's almost always coordination. It's insane the difference that coordination makes. That communicating effectively, just fucking calling things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the worst goats team is a silent goats team. You want to hear those motherfuckers bleat.
That's something I get on about this. I think communication is like the most important thing about goats. That and knowing your job in goats.
Especially when all the players understand how it works. It's like you all
Yeah.
know how to play your role in the team. You together, you're not cooperating. Just fucking work together, dude. Like help each other win.
Okay, so Grav, Reactionary Trance, and Zappis Diva Bombs. And Fox takes it for his team, using the rest of his trans. Carp cover. Oh, yeah, that's
Rip.
Ooh, he didn't die.
Um,
The sound
I
barrier
assume
didn't save him. I mean, it didn't.
no, it wasn't. It was a bubble or a shield. Probably, I think it was a bubble. I don't know if
Wow.
it was.
Hold on, let's
Yeah,
rewind that. Oh, it's good to do.
you can't see it from the
Okay.
perspective because it was on his perspective the whole time. I mean, we'll never know for sure, but I'm almost certain it's a bubble.
Gosh dang it.
Or, and I see Briggs do this sometimes, and I think it's heroic and commendable, but risky and yikes sometimes. You'll see like a diva bomb right here, and they'll go up and they'll just shield it. like this, so that the LOS that blocks is much larger than, say, they were here shielding, where that LOS then that's blocked extends like this, right?
Hmm.
Um, simple geometry.
As Alhanjo says. I can't tell you how much I hate Hanzos.
I've seen Zarya's do that with their bubble too. And you see them get real close to the bombs. They can block as much of it as possible. It's smart. It's a big brain play.
Big brain?
Big brain.
Did you just say big brain?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Why is Milky Bell playing so far? Okay, so he's calling for his team to get back. David's okay, getting angles, smart. Dancing on payload, smart, smart. And there it is.
Oh no.
Alright. So that fight was weird. So Zappis did he fat finger his thrusters so they turned off mid bomb? Or
I don't know. I'm not sure.
that was because that was like a Pepe Hens kind of bomb there.
Yeah. They also weren't in a position to charge the Reinhardt, so
Yeah, that was not very good. Shield breaks. Shield broken. Not very good. Oh, missed on the beat. He's throwing. Basility's throwing. It's just invested 2 ults. And still just nothing. Oh, but Zappis popping off.
the with these two support ults in particular, you can you can think of their use sometimes, even if you lose the fight, 'cause you don't have to win the fight for the ults to have been effective. One of those cases we talked about earlier was with the trading up in ult economy. Another
Yeah.
one of those cases is if you can trade these ults for ult charge in, these ults, right?
Yeah.
So, um, uh, so in investing these resources, you allow your team to sustain longer and or engage harder and do more damage, get more ult charge. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So
you just it's worth it sometimes,
I
especially
see.
in the case of this ult. Um, but something that kind of blew my mind when I realized it, but uh, say it's a dry fight except for this ult and this ult, right?
Hmm.
This team has advantage. If we just forget about attack A defending, let's say it's control point and the point hasn't unlocked yet, or I mean they wouldn't have ults, but
Yeah.
um, this team has the advantage because if you think about how the fight plays out, first they beat, then they engage. This team kites, pops rally as speed runs out. By the
Hmm.
time this team gets to them, beats started to run out, right?
Hmm.
So then they re-engage with not only health advantage, which you can pop rally before you start kiting or mid kite or even after it. It actually doesn't matter because the armor that you gain from
Hmm.
it, like it's better to have it longer into the fight, but also if you're afraid that you might get uh someone might die to poke from behind while you're kiting, or someone might get caught out, some shit like that, and maybe you pop it earlier. That's fine because the armor uh, stays after the beyond the duration of the ultimate, essentially. Um, the the beat armor does not. So essentially, what that amounts to is this team plays slower and wins,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It blew my mind because when you think about Briggle, you think about it being the least useful ult in Goats.
Which, I mean, I
There's
still
some
do think it
yeah,
is, but
there's yeah, credit to that statement. Um, but matter context matters, and just because it's maybe the least useful ult doesn't mean that it
doesn't mean that it's
isn't
useless.
useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, or that it wouldn't beat out other ults in certain scenarios.
Yeah. Then
Pepe
there,
hands.
stagger.
Pepe hands.
Oh, that's such a stagger. Okay, so poking for grab. Milkman almost has.
Alright, so you see how this team, how Gigante's getting progressively further and further away from Davin. He's starting to split himself off in basically no man's land.
Yeah.
That happens when you stay in front of your Rhine too much as Zarya, because you don't have eyes in the back of your head. You can't see what your team is doing, and your team follows the Rhine. They don't follow you.
Hmm.
So, this being the anchor point of your team, if you have no sense of where that anchor point is, you can't really like center yourself, the team. It's especially important to remember specifically with Zarya because she will push forward in front of Shield to get charged with her self bubble. It's
Hmm.
useful. It's a good thing to do in a lot of situations. But you, not only is it important that you uh, are able to visually check where your Rhine is um, frequently, but
Hmm.
you also want to know what his health is at because you you can't, like, if he starts to get fucking attacked and you're not paying attention to him, you can't bubble him.
Exactly.
It's a thing that I see commonly, especially in 4.4K plus Zarya's, like high tier 3 and above Zarya's. It's something they forget about because in solo queue it's not that important.
But yeah, this is
In solo queue, it's more important that you build your. It's way more important that you build your graph than than that you protect your Rhine between fights, or that you don't split too much from your team, because in solo queue there's not that coordination to kill you as easily. You
Mhm.
can get away with extending further from your team, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so rally engage smart. Let me see a boop. There it is. We're gonna see a shadow right here.
Rip, dude. That was like ability into ultimate. Well,
That's some
ability into ultimate.
that's something I notice a lot in top tier Rhine gameplay, and something I'm telling my main tank to watch out for is whenever Rhine start to sneak behind a payload, especially an owl, when they're behind a payload, it's almost guaranteed that they're gonna shatter. That's something I notice a lot of Ryan's
It's a
miss.
really smart place to shatter from because the animation leaves you really vulnerable, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to have to commit bubble to that if you don't have to. So, and because you can just shatter through payload, but they're not going to be able to damage you much through payload, especially from the highest sources of damage, which are Zarya and Zen. Then it's a really uh, even if they know that that's a like, even if that becomes a tell, it's still advantageous to do it.
Yeah, because you can't get stunned out of it from Brig, and as you said, you can avoid a lot of damage. But I'm just saying that's something I picked up on just by watching. And you see a lot of even like top tier Rhines like fall victim to that. They think the enemy Rhine's going to regen their shield. Shatter comes up.
Yeah, I mean, that's also partly to do with ult tracking, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, excuse me, and fight coordination, which you want to plan not just around your ults, but the ults of the enemy team. So
Mm-hmm.
it, sometimes, and an ult will come up in the middle of a fight, and this is one of the things where I think the majority of even top tier teams are lacking in the department of ult tracking mid fight, because you don't want to put hardly any thought into ult tracking mid fight. It's actually a waste of your attention. Um, but before the fight,
Mm-hmm.
like this is also why you don't want to just ult track in terms of they have it, they don't have it. Saying they're close to it, stuff like that. That's good, but even better is an estimate maybe of how close they are to it. If they're 80% to shatter, you know they're going to have it in the next fight, and you also know about how long it's going to take them to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and intuition's an incredible thing. You actually you process so much fucking more. I read this book. It's called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. He talks about like how just our intuition is so accurate sometimes. It's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for these incredibly complex things. Um eh, Things that are even comparably like magnitudes, orders of magnitude more complex than just old tracking Overwatch, which is like it's a pretty complicated multivariate issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are a lot of things that go into your ult charge, and so your brain's taking stock of a lot of it. and you can make a pretty good guess. We're pretty
Mhm.
bad at statistics, but we're pretty good at counting.
Yeah, it really is crazy how like our intuition does work. It really does baffle me. Sometimes like
Yeah,
that's the stuff I can just know off the top of my head.
yeah, like you just fucking the game sense where you just insane things, and you're like, you you almost feel like it was lucky, but there's actually a really good chance that it wasn't luck. That was genuinely your brain just being as cool as it is.
Okay, so Gigante should just about have this fight in the bag just due to the ults. And then Urki, oh, get the pick on Urki. There's a grab. I'm not a fan of Zap's bombs. Not a fan at all.
Yeah, his bombs aren't showing up today.
Yeah, I mean, if I was the coach and like I'd just tear him a new asshole for like just his bomb placement's just terrible. That
I
is
want to give you this. I want to give you this tip. Because I think it's something that people overlook a lot. Um, and I don't mean to imply anything by giving you this advice. So,
yeah, go right ahead.
yeah, um, you should never blame the player. You should never blame the player as an entity. You can blame their mistakes, their actions, right?
Yeah.
But blaming them, that you can think of it a lot like the mindset that people get in depression, right? Which is they see all of these seriously bad things happen to them, and they see correlation between something that uh, is an is an, a fundamental attribute of themselves,
Yeah.
and these things that are happening, and so they think then, I'm fucked up, I'm broken, and
Hmm.
my not only uh not only are bad things going to continue to happen to me, things are going to get worse, and there's no way for me to fix it. And that is not the mindset you ever want to be in. It's debilitating. It actually makes life not worth living, because you can't fix your life, and you're just going to be um, subject to more misery and suffering, and making other people suffer
Yeah.
and feeling guilty about it. And so, but if you if you ever place blame on the player, it's a similar thing to that. It implies, maybe not implies. That's maybe a strong word, but I'm going to use it anyway. I guess it implies that something about them is why the team lost, not something that they did is why the team lost.
Okay.
It's a lot. You can correct actions so much more easily than you can change personality. Changing your personality literally requires tragedy.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to keep in mind when you're talking to players, because a lot of the time players will blame each other, right? Uh, the way that they phrase it, right, will
Yeah.
be,
Huge huge problem on my team. We just kicked the guy
yeah,
because of it. It was just
yeah, and it's
really
like
bad.
it's something that fucking everybody does, and it's extremely common, so it's understandable why they do it. It's just everybody else does it too.
Yeah.
But as a coach, I think it's our responsibility to be careful with our words,
Yes.
and be that
The bigger man.
yeah, and that like voice of reason.
Yeah.
Help people realize, okay, it's not something wrong with me. It's something just that I
Something to
did
work
wrong
on.
that
Something
I
to
can
improve on.
fix, right? Yeah.
That's something like whenever I coach, because I coach in real life too. I'm a coach for a track team, and everything I do, every single mistake I see, I try to make a constructive way to fix it.
Yeah.
That beat was
And I think especially with players on uh tier 3, they don't get money out of this. They get 10 blizz bucks if they make it to playoffs. Well, they get 50 blizz bucks if they win playoffs. All right, it's they get absolutely nothing out of putting hundreds, thousands of hours into this game and practicing with the teams like that. So, and they want to succeed. They want to get to a place where they're professional or whatever. So they're hungry for
hungry to win. They want to get to
the
the next
opportunity.
level.
I think they're just hungry to be better.
Yeah.
And like that's a crazy thing. Even the most stubborn of people will take some really harsh constructive criticism when they're hungry.
You got a big time right there.
Oh, I said even some of the most stubborn of people will take some extremely harsh criticism if they're hungry like that.
Mm-hmm. Let's go on with pretty. Now, see, can you please explain to me why, like, in this bunker, why they would opt for Lucio or Zen instead of a Mercy? That's something I never understood.
On
Gigante.
so they're
Oh, no,
Gigante
Gigante's
and
attacking.
Gigante's attacking. Yeah.
So they're running a double.
This was the double shield thing I told you about.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they run a Mercy to help in the shield break as well? And why have a Lucio when?
Because so they plan on switching to goats, and these two ultimates transition over, and they
Okay.
don't need a mercy.
Okay.
Same reason why triple DPS is my preferred comp over quad DPS wherever is possible. Quad DPS technically it's a hard counter. I would say triple DPS is slightly softer. It's still a pretty hard counter, and in almost every situation, it's still going to be extremely effective. Um, it allows you to have both a Lucio and a Zen, or a Mercy and a Zen, and so you get at least one ult transition over because it's almost always that you're the case that you're going to be swapping to get to some point in the map,
Yeah.
and you're only like taking first with that comp.
Okay. I see.
It's also the same reason why if you plan on running Zarya goats ever, you should have your diva be practicing. Sorry, not Zarya. I meant Sombra goats. You should be having your diva practice Sombra.
Yeah, it's something. Actually, our current Sombra isn't that bad. He's that bad.
Because Zarya tends to be occupied by the hit scan role in goats. The Zarya player tends to be the one that's the most comfortable on Sombra, but having Diva, who's a something player, plays Zarya, which they're probably fine at, and then switching the hit scan to Sombra means that when you want to go back to normal goats, hit scan's gonna be going on to Zarya, and then you're losing that Zarya ultimate that you could have.
I see.
So I don't know a single fucking hit scan player that can play Diva.
Diva is just.
Is that I think there's a lot of there's a really high skill ceiling for.
Yeah.
So playing her constantly, one tricking her is like the way to go. It's the same thing that like Striker and Sabiolby and back in Owl season 1, they were Tracer one got such a high skill ceiling that one tricking her is the best. Widow's an extremely easy character to play. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The one trick like ever. I mean, unless you're cap free. But he's barely a semi pro player. They just set up this double shield.
So
It's
much
absolutely
damage.
wonderful.
Oh, got close to death there. Damn. Had some serious faith in those healers.
Yeah, dude, you gotta trust your teammates.
Yeah.
One time speed looks so fast.
Yeah,
After
I
watching.
think they did speed it up. This does not look like this looks like it's even after watching it in slow mo, it looks like it's sped up.
Yeah, this is one time dude, that's crazy.
Oh, pirate ship. Why not go with the pirate ship? Pirate ship works.
Because it's bad against goats on this. You just think about it logistically. So you're sitting on the payload right here, right? The enemy team's got this route of attack, got you know, this route of attack. They've got they can go around like this way, right? So there and then like there. So there's the flanks are sufficiently covered.
Okay. Why did Milky Man? Why did he charge? Down a long.
I just heard you ask why did Milky Man? My thought was that's a good question.
Why did he think that was a good idea? That is like oh, maybe short respawns. That could definitely do it. And then he comes back with a shatter, shatters Lil Fish, and gets rid of him.
Yeah, I just all right. I have a theory. I just thought of right now, and it makes so much sense to me. What if Milky Man is named after the milkman because he fucked your mom?
Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, well, what would you look at the time?
Dude, like
No, I mean, I would personally wouldn't believe that.
that would be such a good way to make a username that got some you joke innuendo connotation or whatever that would be not okay for uh professional Overwatch play and just like sneak it in there, right?
Yeah, definitely could.
Good way of hiding it.
Hmm. See, it looks sped up. Jeez. Ooh, huge pick. Ooh, aggress. Come on, Milkman, you can do it.
Big shatter. Got
That,
2.
that was a stupid shatter.
I know. They were all spread out for bomb.
What wasn't the bomb? Yeah, no, that was Elivo's bomb, and then Milky Man shattered them. And died because of it. I'm not a fan of Milky Man either. He's really getting shit on in this game. They somehow made it. They never killed the Zarya. And then Davin got a grab off, and that probably just, the damage was just probably just too strong.
Little fish over here. Plays disgusting.
What was that?
I said, Lil Shish over here is you play disgusting enough to curdle milk. Who's up top there?
Yeah, he's going for a flank shatter. Oh wait, no, he's not. What? Oh no, it was
That's
facility.
Brig. Thought it might be Brig. So they were expecting the reason Brig was up there is that so Brig was going to drop down and sunrise from behind.
Smart.
I don't. But he do that, and I didn't remember that. It's just the exact kind of play that you see, like you see plays like that set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you start to see the patterns between them. That's another thing. Like if you see a Brick hiding behind a corner in a weird spot, just past her and she can bash him. You can make that sort of assumption. There's no other reason for the Brick to have been up there.
Do you want to call it? It's been an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right. I
Um,
sent you the $30 for yesterday, going over the time limit and for today's.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for expanding the size of my brain.
All right, dude. Yeah, honestly, my brain cells, they've been procreating for so long, dude.